The President will now give his acceptance speech. May I now invite the Minister of Education, Honorable Douglas Siagadima MP, to come and call on the President to deliver his acceptance speech and give the keynote address. Let's put our hands together for the Honorable Minister of Education, Honorable Douglas Siagadima.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much to the University of Lusaka. Let me acknowledge the Chancellor, Dr. Fundanga, the Vice Chancellor, Prof. Also recognize your leadership, management, teaching staff, lecturing staff, and everybody. May I acknowledge my cabinet colleagues that are here. Acknowledgement goes to our traditional leaders. Chieftainess Komesha, Mukamambo, too. And I know other traditional leaders are here. Chief Nyampande and others, we acknowledge your presence. May I acknowledge the diplomatic corps that may be here, Chongwe Mayor. Before I go to Chongwe Mayor, may I just say central government through the Secretary of Cabinet and then local government through the Chongwe Mayor. So recognizing everybody in that way. And members of parliament that may be here. May I also acknowledge Vice Chancellors seated behind me and elsewhere from other universities that equally are doing a great job in their own spaces, in their own jurisdictions. I wish to make a special recognition to a great son of this country, Dr. Jacob Mwanza, who ran the University of Zambia for a long time, actually doing other things. We greatly appreciate your choice of UNILUS to further your education. Further education. Distinguished guests, media, may I first and foremost express my gratitude just for the invitation to come and officiate opening officially this campus, UNILUS campus here, but also your university teaching hospital. I think the first private university, when we were passing through their students, we thought that row was made for him only because he did a great job. Dr. Mwanza, thank you very much for being here. May we clap again for Dr. Jacob Mwanza, please. Thank you. Thank you. Senate, of course, and others recognize the students of UNILUS. Hello? Hello? Thank you. We recognize your presence here, but I mean in this hall, but also the students that are outside there, private, I mean, to have a university teaching hospital. Congratulations are in order, but for asking this fellow to officiate is even more humbling. I have said this before, there's an assumption made by heads of state, not just in this country, but elsewhere, that we are entitled to be invited for such important functions. It's not true. So when you invite us like this, Prof, Vice Chancellor, and of course the Chancellor and the team, we truly feel honored that you decided for us to officiate at this important event. So thank you very much. I must also acknowledge the in-depth messages that came through as the Chancellor was giving a speech, and the Vice Chancellor, who gave an analog, the basis upon which UNILUS decision-making processes had to consider before taking this decision to honor this fellow through this PhD in investment and enterprise development. I sat there listening very attentively, and I was whispering to the two colleagues I was seated with, Minister of Education, Honorable Hichilema, and Minister of Lands, Honorable Masebo. Say, listen to the Vice Chancellor, listen to what he's saying. And one can only feel very happy that the country is following what its government is doing. The country is following what its government is doing. I can tell you, Prof, what you analyzed, what you brought out, some of the colleagues closely working with the President may not be able to articulate the way you articulated what this government has done. I was impressed. I was impressed. May we clap for the Chancellor and the Vice Chancellor. And I do believe that we will have access to your speeches so that we can actually circulate them widely in various platforms, including social media, if we can get your soft copies, so that the nation can follow through what has been told as what is happening. So, thank you very much. As for this function, this gown, this hood, all of that you have dressed this fellow with, I want to say thank you so much for your consideration for making this decision. And I want to say we humbly accept this honorary PhD from UNILUS University, and we dedicate it to the people of Zambia. The people of Zambia gave us an opportunity to serve them by putting us in office through a democratic process on the 12th of August 2021. It is they that gave us the keys to the door of service, to enter the room, this high office of service called the presidency. Without the people of Zambia, we would have never had the opportunity to do the little things that we've done for our beloved citizens of Zambia through the reforms, Professor, Vice Chancellor, that we embarked on following that election victory. And we never took that victory as an opportunity to self-aggrandize. We took the election as an opportunity to serve. And given the state of our economy then, there was only one way to turn around this country's fortunes. It was through reforms. The articulation you gave in your speech has to do with the reforms that were put in place. And I've said to many colleagues that are challenged like we were and we still are, that reforms deliver results if they are anchored on a clear vision, they are anchored then dropping down to clear policies, and next, execution of those policies, coupled with the legal reforms that are required to support the vision, the policies, the regulatory reforms that are required as a package. And then what citizens see is taking back to school kids who were out of school. Now, well over 2.5 million children of Zambia have gone back to school. It's through reforms. And Vice Chancellor, it means we brought an additional kid onto the opportunity space or space of opportunity to attend UNILUS further education. They could have never had the opportunity to come through if we did not drive reforms in education. I see you acknowledge the curricula-based, competence-based, not curricula, competence-based curricula. I noticed in your speech you acknowledge that. All of that is meant to give opportunities, equal opportunities to all our children, irrespective of the circumstances under which they were raised. That does not matter, because these are citizens of Zambia, and they too are entitled to opportunity like any other. Our children have no special spaces. I mean biological children. The space they occupy in their search for a better life for them and their partners and the children are the same, should be the same as any other ordinary child of Zambia. Simple. Simple and straight. So we want to say, Prof, Vice Chancellor, 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 Vice Chancellor, reforms is what we've anchored the story you told this afternoon. And I was saying that I'm encouraging colleagues in the League of Presidents, as newer presidents on the block, that they too must drive reforms to change their economies. More so reforms that create opportunities not just for employment, but for business. Noting that your honor is about investment and entrepreneurship development. Just to give you an example, Chancellor and Vice Chancellor, our gravitation from a manual-based FISIP program to e-voucher has allowed small businesses across the country to have an opportunity to supply farming inputs to beneficiaries of the e-voucher system across the country. The distribution system, and also it has allowed us to lower the cost of inputs to our farmers. For many, you just see an increase in production of maize, for example. It's connected to these reforms to create business opportunities for small, medium businesses across the country. And one of the things we've done in there was to focus on local production of fertilizer. I know many citizens have not paid attention to that. Before we push that agenda, we were buying fertilizer at $1,200 per ton. Mind you, then we pushed local production of fertilizer, annoyed a few monopolies. I heard you talk about monopolies. Our job is to not dismantle monopolies for the sake of it, is to create opportunities for many partners or players or participants in the industry such as agriculture. This alone, that policy that anchored production of fertilizer was not just to look at the lowering the cost, which we have, from $1,200 per ton now to $800 per ton of fertilizer. Now, I was impressed, Prof, that you were able to isolate these things and connect them to the value creation and opportunity for investment and entrepreneurship. I'm very impressed, I must say. Now, by lowering the cost of fertilizer and by basically, before I leave that subject, so for the entrepreneurship students here, business students, please follow this conversation. By lowering the cost of fertilizer per metric ton, we were able to lower the cost of doing business in agriculture. If you work your numbers, just 300,000 metric tons, you save $4 per ton. No, I beg your pardon. 1,200 minus 800 is $400. $400, multiply that by 300,000 metric tons. You will see the amount of money we saved as an economy, right? You'll be talking well over $75 million. Well over that, if you do your numbers quickly. Yeah, sure. So that's one aspect of creating opportunities for businesses so we can lower their costs and then the businesses can grow. Isn't it? Save how you manage other parameters, other factors. But by bringing e-voucher, Prof, you'll be happy to hear that the inefficiencies in the fertilizer distribution system, we were able to knock out non-farmers who were benefiting from FISIP to the order of over 200,000. We cleaned them out through the electronic voucher system. I hope somebody is following here. Now it means that fertilizer now was available not for abuse, but it was now available to true farmers, and we were able to bring additional 200,000 FISIP beneficiaries. And then we deliver fertilizer more efficiently and seed through that process, through small businesses across the country that had died. Now we've revived them. Maybe that's why you chose to award this PhD, Investment and Enterprise. So, but an ordinary citizen only sees the highest production of maize since independence, but it comes from these different bits and pieces. I wanted to illustrate that, especially for my fellow monks and momas seated over there. This country can do more. We can do more together. So we want to say to this university, UNILUS, thank you to you all. The decision processes that you followed, appreciating that you have grown tremendously from 70 students to well over 16,000 today. This is a great journey, and I listened to you talking there, and I was saying this prof must come to State House so we can have just a business conversation. So I have asked my team to invite Prof and a small number of your colleagues so we can have tea or coffee in State House so we talk through things. You are looking at an investor here. You are looking at an entrepreneur here. And because of my sins of the past, starting business at 27 years old, I can read what he's up to. And once more, congratulations for these wonderful facilities that are being used to embed skills in warm bodies called students. And I was going to emphasize in my messaging that we want to see more tilting of the courses programs towards enterprise, towards these young guys thinking about not just working, but to work for themselves. And this government will provide the environment to continue to improve the business operating environment to allow young entrepreneurs, as you have noticed through CDF, they're coming through now. Through CEC, they're coming through now. Through energy reforms, I wanted to mention one thing here. Our reforms in the energy sector have opened up the energy sector through the whole chain, value chain. We now have private power generators. There was only CEC a couple of years ago, and CEC was going through a lot of challenges, Copper Energy Corporation. Since we took office, Prof, one of the first visits I did was to visit CEC and to assure them that nobody will close you down. We will support you, and see what they've done now. They've moved from a $300 million business, now to close to a $2 billion business within 4.5 years. Within 4.5 years. Just one company, Zambian-owned company. In fact, the Zambian government, all of you here, are shareholders in that company. But we have allowed them to drive the private sector-driven management, leadership, and see what they can be. From less than $300 million value 4 years ago to $2 billion value within 4.5 years. But hear me, look at the quality of jobs that they provide now. Look at the quality of their ability to develop suppliers of goods and services, and they're able to pay. Look at their generation of clean energy, which you talked about. Policies, vision, policies, reforms. But the point I was going to make, and I'll return to it, is that now we have more than ZESCO and CEC in the industry. We have numerous generators of power to address our power shortage. We have independent power traders. We have now what we call net metering. Even a household producing 100 kilowatts of electricity on the rooftop, they consume 50 kilowatts. And I'm saying so because I'm in a university. If I was in a public meeting, I wouldn't say these things. One moment. 100 kilowatts a family produces on the rooftop of their house, they consume 50 kilowatts. The residue can now be put on the grid for value. So it means households now are becoming small businesses. by investing in solar. Total production, Y, 100 kilowatts, minus X what they consume, 50 kilowatts, is equal to Z, which is the excess power. Z, they can convert it into value. More than just living in that house. Fantastic, isn't it? Fantastic, isn't it? Prof, we are able to do what we call tariff blending. Expensive source, cheaper source, put it together, more palatable to a customer. We've set a target of 10,000 megawatts of power. By 2031, we want to be sitting on 10,000 megawatts of power, 10 gigawatts. Now, there is business opportunity for even graduates of this university. That, as he knows, I was asking him questions as he walked me around, great facilities. How much capex have you put in this university? How have you funded it? And we chatted. And I was extremely encouraged by his entrepreneurial mind. That you can get prepayments, don't consume that money, push it in investment expenditure, you will have facilities beyond the imagination of many. This is the enterprise, this is the investment, this is the culture we want to breed in this country. Let me stick with power. These graduates, Prof, can go 2, 3, 4, 5 of them get together. Now they have an opportunity to invest in a 1 megawatt solar power station, and at a young age they will become entrepreneurs. And this government will support them through the reforms such as putting now power purchase agreements, which by getting a power purchase agreement from ZESCO, from CEC, or from an independent trader, you can start a business where you run 1 megawatt, 5 megawatts, up to 5 megawatts. We have removed the regulatory burden. These are things that are not seen by citizens. We have removed the regulatory burden that basically up to 5 megawatts, you don't have to wait through the processes of ZEMA, through the process of, you can get it in 48 hours. I mean the license, 48 hours. But here's the point. Here's the point. Once you get that, then you can get a power purchase agreement to buy your power, which you are not yet producing. Mind you, you are not yet producing, but you intend to produce. You get a power purchase agreement that embeds the price there, embeds obviously the total value per year. By that document of a power purchase agreement assuring an off-taker, a customer for the power you intend to produce, even in this university. Prof, you can go to a bank and the bank will give you money. Not at the usual higher rates, but at a lower rate. That's what you were saying there. Clap for this professor. So, young guys graduating from here, you can start a business within 2, 3, 4 months of graduating. You don't have to have cash in your hands, but you have to use your gray matter and the skills you have acquired from UNILUS. And your government will support you. You get a power purchase agreement, then you can raise financing, then you can get technical support, and all of a sudden you'll be an entrepreneur. Take that serious. This is not a story. This is real. Just by example. So once more, UNILUS, thank you for the skills that you're imparting in our people. And the fact that this is a private sector driven university makes it even more appealing. Cooperation between public universities and this university must be encouraged. As you took us around there to some of the facilities, I called the Minister of Health, he's there, Katagwe. I called the Minister of Health there to create a meeting, to meet with your technical colleagues here, to look at the facilities like where you took us, with diagnostics, so that the components, the space that you don't utilize, I think you said utilizing 30%, 35%. So 35%. So we have 65% excess capacity which UNILUS has. But that capacity is needed from UTH, from other public hospitals. Why not create a strategic relationship that 65% capacity can be utilized? UNILUS will generate money because we will have to pay for that service. But it's better to pay UNILUS than going to India to access that service. So I have directed the Minister, Dr. Fundanga, you and I will be the watch people to see that that meeting takes place in the next 10 days and see how they can cooperate together. So the Chancellor and I will be the monitors, right? That meeting takes place, UTH staff and other hospitals must come and have a look here. The team here goes to UTH. I am told you're already talking because some of the staff here, they were classmates at the University of Zambia in the medical school. So it makes life easy. This is what we want the economy to be. We are one economy. We shouldn't be inefficient. Where there's capacity, whether private or public sector, it must be available for utilization in the economy. That's enterprise. That's enterprise. So, I think I've said what I wanted to say. Where priorities, Vice Chancellor, Chancellor, Vice Chancellor, agriculture, were big programs there. Mining, were big programs. Energy, manufacturing. We've talked the story of fertilizer. Tourism. And I'm glad you're following. When we took out the visa fee from tourists and other programs we put in place, when we came in office, we were only receiving 500,000 tourists per year. After we put in these measures to reduce the cost, unnecessary cost, which scared off tourists, and obviously focus on getting minute revenue from visa fees, we knew that once we remove the visa fees, that loss of visa fee value is miniature compared to the volume and value that will generate when we have more tourists. And let me give you a statistic, right? So, by addressing just what you picked up in your speech there, because of these changes we made, we were able, and of course our marketing efforts, let's not forget our marketing efforts, we were able to increase the tourist arrivals in this tourism sector from 500,000 per year to over 2.5 million tourists per year. I come from that industry, my sins of the past, and we were able to raise occupancies for lodges and hotels from 35% to 75%. What does that mean? More laundry demand, more food for restaurants, for those who drink, more beer sold in there, right? I do believe you can see where I'm coming from now. Those changes that we've had to make is what is making the difference now. And the difference means that there are more young people who graduate from here and elsewhere and can get jobs because the tourism sector has expanded phenomenally. But we have a lot more to do, and we want to do more. But collaborating with yourselves here and other universities is what this president wants to see more of that happening, rather than working in isolation. We are one economy. We must plan together, visualize together, plan together, alter policies together. The PPDF you talked about, Prof. Every budget now we have, since we took office, a lot of the changes you see in the annual budget, instrument for generating and directing revenue called the national budget, a lot of the measures are agreed with the private sector through the PPDF, and they see themselves into the budget. Very important. To many that doesn't make sense. To us, it makes a lot of sense. And now we can work together. So, I want to close by saying to UNILUS, thank you for what you've done. I was quizzing him, what capex have you spent here? He was telling me, I won't tell you what he told me. But for you to make that decision, to invest so much in this and other facilities, as a government, we want to say congratulations. Congratulations. Yeah? Continue doing more of this stuff. Nothing stops you from being a world-class university. Nothing. Looking at your student profiles, in the lab we went there, we saw students from Namibia, from Zimbabwe, from elsewhere. It reminds me of my undergraduate days. It reminds me of my undergraduate days when the University of Zambia, under Dr. Mwanza here, Dr. Fundanga here, when we were going through that university, University of Zambia was the premier university in the region. So we had students from all over SADC. So UNILUS, you are doing the same. We want to encourage you. There's also something embedded in what you're doing. The value of networking. These students from Botswana, Zimbabwe, Eswatini, when they graduate, they will go back and do different things and they will network. And networking will deliver more business opportunities for them as they leave university. They will be able to bring economies together, Zambian economy, Botswana economy, Namibia economy together, and see opportunities that today's world businesses are cross-border business, almost all of them. Almost all of them. You may not see it that way. And I have good news, Chancellor and Vice Chancellor, that God's will, courtesy of the people of Zambia, 13th August, people of Zambia favor us with public office. We have a number of things that we want to accelerate. One of them is the digital ID, moving us to a digital economy. Digital ID. That digital ID, we've already agreed with Namibia and with Botswana that Zambian citizens who will be holding that digital ID will not need a passport as they go into Namibia and into Botswana. And vice versa. It means that your marketing efforts will be easier now. You can actually market UNILUS on digital platforms. I'm sure you're already doing that. But it will be much, much easier. And the same digital ID now will allow us to pay our taxes, will allow us to do, as you said, RATSA, will allow us to do so many things which will lower the cost of doing business, which will also reduce on corruption, which will also increase the revenue generation for businesses. Lovely story, isn't it? Lovely story. So may I end by saying, really, God bless UNILUS. God bless our country, Zambia. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, another round of applause for the President of the Republic of Zambia and the recipient of A round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. Let's put our hands together.
So, Mr. President, as evidence of our scholarly mind of our lecturers also publish books. And these are the samples of the books that we are presenting to your office. The first book is an introduction to family law, authored by Mwaka Chizinga. She's the executive dean of the School of Law and an advocate of the High Court of Zambia. So the next one is
the Doctorate of Philosophy, honoris causa in Investment and Enterprise Development under the auspices of UNILUS. And now, may I invite the Vice Chancellor, Professor Chifwana Kenny, to make a special presentation to the recipient of this honorary Doctorate of Philosophy. Mr. VC, sir. So the VC, on behalf of the University of Lusaka, they have a gift that they would like to present to the President.